Hey guys, buckle up for a new episode of Below the Iceberg, the one and only podcast where we talk to real-life 2 Comma Club award winners. Whether you're a small business owner, an entrepreneur, a wannabe entrepreneur, or you've been in business for a while, you're sure to pick up some secrets for success and tips that you can apply right now. Now, if you don't know what a 2 Comma Club award is, it's where somebody has built one funnel inside the ClickFunnels software and sold $1 million through just that one funnel. And we'll always learn from some of the best people in the game on how they did it. In today's episode, I am absolutely over the moon to be talking to Michael Fomkin, who catapulted himself from pizza restaurant owner into the glitz, glamour and razzmatazz of Broadway, TV and film, while collecting many Tony Awards along the way, as well as that coveted 2 Comma Club award winner, and he even beat Tom Hanks to a Tony Award. So let's dive in, find out what he does, how he achieved all of this, and all of the unexpected things that happened on this path to the coveted $1 million funnel. You're going to want to listen to this one. Welcome, Michael. I want to super congratulate you on getting a 2 Comma Club award.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's so honored to be here today. I'm so excited about this.
I am really excited to find out your story. What I like to do before I chat to people is I like to go and have a little bit of look on their social media profiles so our listeners can get an idea of the size of people's followings based on what they can achieve. So I had a little bit of a dig into your stats.
Awesome.
So I see your biggest following is on Instagram. Is that right?
Correct.
You got just under 20,000 followers on Instagram.
Yep, 19,500 and change.
Facebook, about 4,500 followers.
Yep, correct.
YouTube, about 650 followers.
Yep.
Subscribers. Is there any other platforms? Are you on TikTok?
We just started with TikTok, so it's we're like literally I have 5 people on TikTok so far.
All right, okay. So do you have a Facebook group?
We have a Facebook group with about 3,300 people in it.
All right, okay. So all your business is around, is it VIP Ignite? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so do you want to explain a little bit about to our listeners what VIP Ignite is all about?
So VIP Ignite is a company that helps aspiring people interested in TV, film, fashion, the arts and entertainment industry meet with high-level executives, people who can snap their fingers and change their life in 30 seconds or less. So it's designed for people who want to break into the industry and they don't really have the connections and they have a passion and a drive for it. So what we do is we open up the door and introduce them to people who can take them from where they are to where they want to go. It just gets them there a lot faster when you're able to surround yourself with people who've already done what you are trying to do or what you want to do.
Okay, that sounds awesome. So did you win? You won the 2 Comma Club award with VIP Ignite.
Correct.
Okay, and when did you actually hit the $1 million in sales?
Well, we hit it every year now, so we're shooting for our 10x award this year.
Awesome.
But we hit the first 2 Comma Club award that we won in 2017.
Okay, and what were you doing when you hit it? Did you realize you hit it?
No, actually, we were kind of tracking it, but we weren't quite paying attention to it. And then we saw when they had the award. So then we started really, oh, okay, yeah, we have enough sales here. Let's submit for the award. And next thing we know, we're walking across the stage. At that time, 95 people had won. So we were one of 95. And actually, when we got our award, actually, it's when I first met Dan Henry. He was actually standing online right in front of me, waiting to get his first award too. So it was kind of cool. And we've been friends ever since. Yeah.
So when you realized, did you have any sort of celebration before you got to the award ceremony? Did you have your own celebration?
Yeah, I think it was really positive for everyone in the office, for the team to see that we were getting some type of recognition just for the hard work that went into the technology and that went into everything that makes the funnels run. versus the results that the funnels produce for our clients. So, they always have the celebration there. We like to say that our company is based upon the success of the people we work with. So it's kind of, for the first time, I think, a recognition for all the team members that may not always have that same feeling because they're working behind the scenes.
All right. Okay. So did they have their own celebration then? Did you?
Oh yeah, we did. We did a little party in the office. We popped some bottles of champagne. It was really fun. We all went out to dinner. It was a really great evening.
Oh, awesome. So I want to do a little bit of a rewind now, and we're going to rewind back to your childhood.
Okay.
Okay. So what did your childhood look like? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, in a small Italian and Russian community, about 15 minutes outside of New York City. My childhood consisted of going to school and being out and about. I had a ton of friends. Brooklyn's a very historic, very like neighborhood-ish kind of area. So you literally knew every single person on every single block. You just knew what was going on in the neighborhood, and stopping at the little grocery stores and picking up Italian bread, and birthday parties with the family. It was like, very family orientated neighborhood. So where I grew up, it was old fashioned, old school neighborhood. People worked very hard, 6 days a week, all kinds of, when you grow up in my neighborhood, you didn't think about growing up as an internet marketer. You thought about growing up as either a police officer, working for the city, an electrician, a contractor, some type of like union job.
All right, okay.
that old school, you got a stable job, a stable career, you got medical insurance. Nobody ever gave me the book on how to grow up and become an internet marketer, that's for sure.
So what was your dream when you was a child? What did you want to be?
I always knew, the interesting thing is I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like I remember being from a very early age. I really, I used to sell fireworks. Like I was the guy you would get fireworks from. And, I always had some kind of plan. When I was in grammar school, I was really good at drawing. So I used to sell drawings, and, I always would find a way of hustling and trying to make some type of money here or there. I used to work in the restaurant industry when I was 14 years old. I used to be a dishwasher, and then I wind up learning how to make pizza and working behind the counter, and just, wherever there was an opportunity to wash somebody's car, whatever it was just always trying to think of a better way of doing things, and just really always believing in hard work. In my neighborhood, if you weren't working, you would definitely something wrong with you. Like you would not be the most popular kid. It was all about how you impressed the adults, how you impressed everyone in life was you were the hardest working person on your block. And that's the neighborhood I grew up in. It was all really about hard work.
So did you go to college then?
I went to college. I went to college for 2 years. I really didn't know what I wanted to do in college. I was interested in writing. I went to pre-law school, so I had an interest at the time to being an attorney. But at the same time, because I worked all throughout high school and even through college in the restaurant industry, I wound up leaving college after 2 years and opening up my first restaurant. So actually, before working in the entertainment industry, I worked in the restaurant industry.
Oh, okay.
So talk about working hard 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. You definitely learn hard work, but I enjoyed it. Because
what restaurant was it?
It was called Mr. Nino's. It's still available. It's still open. I sold it like over 20 years ago. Every once in a while, I'll go up there and visit it. It's up in northern New Jersey. We won the award for best deep dish pizza. We had a pizza that I created called the Santa Fe deep dish pizza. It had grilled chicken with onions and a white wine sauce. #1 pizza up in North Jersey. So if you ever go there, definitely check out that pizza. It's really good.
So was it a pizza restaurant?
Yeah, pizza restaurant, pizzeria and Italian restaurant. We actually, when I started it, there was like 15 other pizzerias in the area, and I was really young. I didn't know a lot about marketing, but like I said, I knew at that time, I knew you had to do something to get business running. So we did a lot of advertising. And when we first opened, one of the ads that I created was a flyer, and it was called "Trade in Your Old Pizzeria." So we were brand new. I had just bought this location. They were going out of business. They were literally failing. I came in, bought it, and we started putting out these flyers. And the concept was trade in your old pizzeria. And here's what the thought was. The thought was that every single person, you have a drawer filled with menus, right? So you have all these different menus. So I was like, okay, well, I need to get in that drawer, my menu, but I also need to get the other guy's menu out of the drawer because that way, when mom or dad goes to the drawer, the only menu in there was my menu. So the trade in your old pizzeria concept was we would send you a large pizza for $5, but in order to get it, we would send you the pizza, deliver it, and you would have to give us another competitor's menu.
All right, okay.
So then we would put our menu there. And then, so now the concept was we would deliver, they would get our menu, and then they would remove one menu from the drawer. And it was an interesting thing because it really exploded business. And it would be like several years later, I'd wind up selling the restaurant and selling the restaurant. But there was this one location. So when we first started, there were 15 locations. We did very aggressive marketing, very aggressive advertising. And what wound up happening is after several years when I sold it, there was only 3 competitors. So literally like 12 locations went out of business because we were just so aggressive.
Right, okay.
That one of the 3, he didn't close, and I never spoke to him. And it was literally like a few weeks before I sold my location that I get this phone call, and it's from this other location. And I'm like, who's calling? I'm like, what does he want? Like, this is weird. I've been here all these years. He's never called me. All of a sudden he's calling me. And the interesting thing was he called me and he says, oh, can I borrow a can of mushrooms? And could you drop it off? Now it's kind of weird, but like if you're in the pizza business and you run out of supplies, it's allowable to call another place and they kind of help each other out, right?
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, sure. I was like, let me go see what this guy wants. So I grab a big can of mushrooms. I drive over to his location and I go in and he, long story short, he wanted to sell his location and he wanted to know if I was interested in buying it. And I was like, oh, I'm actually in the process. We're just about to sell. And, I sold too. And I says, he took me on a tour of his store. And it was the first time I ever went there. He was always like this enemy. Like this was the guy I could never knock out.
Yeah.
And so long story short, it turns out he was a really nice guy. And we're actually still friends to this day. But when I was there, he made this comment. He goes, boy, when you first came into this area, you were so annoying. He goes, all of a sudden, people kept coming into my store asking for menus. And I wasn't getting phone calls, and I could never figure out why they wanted these menus. I was literally paying for menus to give to people to trade them in so they could get the large pie from you. And it was just so funny how it came full circle. And I think the valuable lesson is this for people who are, whether you're doing internet marketing, you're doing traditional marketing, it's you have to be creative. Like you have to be willing to say, I don't know quite how to do it, but I'm going to still go out and try. How would something affect my life? What are the things that are going on in my life that are going on in other people's lives? What are the problems they're struggling with? What are the things, how do they live their day? Like I'm really about, targeting very specific avatars and understanding their pain and their needs. So that's my little pizzeria story.
So what made you sell then? What was the reason?
I had done it for so long. I did it for at that point, man, I think I was like 26 years old. So I was been working in that industry for like over 10 years. And I just knew there was more to life at that point. I didn't quite know what there was, but I just knew I wasn't happy there anymore.
Did you have a plan though? Or did you just sell with no plan?
I really didn't have a plan. I knew I wanted to do another business. And I wind up, when I sold the restaurant, I didn't really quite have a plan. And I at the time, the internet was really young and it was just kind of brand new. This is before Facebook, before the iPhone. And I went online and I did a search, like what kind of business could I own? And this ad came up and it was like, own a modeling agency, spend your day judging beauty contests and working with beautiful people. I was like, what? I was like, wait a second. I've been working in a pizzeria for like over 10 years. like smelling like garlic, covered in flour, working from sunrise to sunset, like just going home, passing out, and then waking up the next day to go back to work. And you're telling me there's a job where I get to judge beauty contests and hang out with beautiful people? I was like, sign me up. So it was a franchise, and they were based out of Orlando, Florida. So I called them up and they said, well, you have to come down. There's an interview process. I was like, okay, great. So I booked a flight. I flew down there. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And when I arrived, they were a technology startup. And what they were doing was, at the time, modeling agencies across the country, across the world, didn't really have computers. So like, imagine like if you were a client and you needed a model for a job, you would call a modeling agency and say, I need a girl, blonde hair, blue eyes, 5'6" to 5'8", and the agency had no way. They didn't have emails. They didn't have anything to send them out to you. So they would actually send you out what's called paper comp cards. Like, this is how long ago this was.
Yeah.
And so they would go, and how you would organize this, because they didn't have databases. You could organize your photos by male, female, and then by hair color. After that, there was really no way of separating it. So you'd have to go to the wall. You'd have to find all the girls with, blonde hair, and then kind of sort through them,
Right.
and then find the ones with blue eyes that met the client's requirements. You'd have to put together a package, overnight it to the client, then wait for the client to call you, and then you'd have to call the model, see if they're available, then call the client back. So this company had come up with the concept of taking that whole entire initiative and putting it into a database where these agencies could actually utilize it. So you could kind of think of them as being like the Amazon.com, when Amazon first started for books.
Right. Yeah.
Same idea. Or eBay, for auctions. So they were very, very early on. And so the concept was not so much working with models per se, but actually selling the software to agencies.
Right.
So I thought it was a great concept. I wind up investing in it. The company did very well for the first 2 years, but they had like a really high burn rate, and they just couldn't kind of keep up with their, like these early internet companies. They blow through a lot of money. They
Yeah.
had investors, all these problems that come with startups. So the company wind up dissolving, and the technology that they created, it's still used to this day. Like, literally, if you go to any modeling agency in the world, you'll find this is the tech. This is how the world works. They were the ones who created it. They're
Right.
never given credit, so it's kind of one of these like weird historic moments that just kind of disappeared to time. But before the company had closed, they had this idea where they wanted to actually bring agencies together and do like these live events where agencies could come and meet with talent from all over the country,
All
because
right.
they had this national database. They never got that project off the ground, but I thought it was so interesting. So when they closed, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is interesting. Maybe I could do events or something like that. That sounds like fun. And
So when they closed, did your franchise, did that
yeah,
close at the
yeah.
same
I literally, when I went. So listen to this. This is a really interesting story. So when I started with one location. The company lasted 24 months. I wind up, again, hard work, dedication. I wind up scaling from one location to partnering up with two other franchise owners. We actually owned over 100 locations nationwide.
Oh, wow.
Like, we literally were the largest franchise owners in the company, and life couldn't be better. Like, I at that point, I was just an investor. I had like probably close to 300 employees working for me. We had office leases throughout the country, printer leases, setting up phones and internet and the whole nine. It was, multi-million dollar a year business, just in costs and expenses. And literally just one day I get a phone call and they're like, hey, just to let you know, we're closing. Like, next week's your last day. But thanks for being with us. Good luck. Like, literally, I got a phone call like, it's done. We wish you the best of luck. And like, so
No
imagine
way.
like your whole life. Like, I used to go around, and because we had 100 offices, so I literally would spend like every month I'd go, every 2 weeks I'd be in a different location throughout the United States. I had all these people working for me. I had these relationships and friendships, and all of a sudden it's gone. And I'm like, wait a second, like, my first thought wasn't even about myself so much, but it was like, what about the staff? Like,
Yeah.
how are we going to maintain the staff? What's going to happen to them? What about the talent, the customers? So wind up happening was me and my partner, we literally like liquidated everything we could. We took our savings and we kind of kept the company alive for like probably about another year. And then I wind up selling my shares to my two partners. And literally, this is probably about 18 years ago. They're still in business to this day.
Oh, are
And
they?
there's actually probably about 12 employees that started 19 years ago that are still now with the company. They're senior executives and so forth. So again, there's always a way. You know what I mean? Like no, like literally, if you think about it, like that moment when I got that call, that was like the worst moment of my life at that moment.
Yeah.
Like I literally was on the hook for millions of dollars of leases, hundreds of thousands of dollars in expenses, and the parent company was gone. And literally, we literally had to rebuild the database because we didn't have access to the code or to the website. So we literally had to rebuild the database by by hand, like literally from the ground up. We actually, like each of our offices that we maintain, we kept a separate database of the talent that we managed. We literally had to enter those talents, photos, stats, information by hand, like
Oh, wow.
literally. Yeah, it was literally like a project that went like round the clock for about 3 weeks of moving everybody into the new database. And it's not something, I don't know if it could be done today the way we did it back then, but the team and the moment that existed, the stars lined up in the right way. But again, my point is what could have been my worst day ever, where you lost everything,
Yeah.
you had to find a way to turn it around, and we did. And then eventually I would go off and I would start another company where now we still work in the talent industry, but now we provide access for them being able to meet with, high level executives. So we kind of took that idea and branched it
So
up
when
higher.
you sold your shares and you started a new company, is
Hmm.
that VIP Ignite? Is that the
That's
one?
VIP Ignite. Yeah,
So
that's the
how
one.
did that start off then? What?
This when we first started it, the concept was we would host an event where people who were interested in meeting with people, agents and casting directors and producers could come, kind of like a career fair.
So is it like
So
open audition style?
like an open audition, but like also a learning annex. So if you think of like a funnel hacking live, or a UPW, or a conference where you could go and learn about the product that you wanted to learn.
Oh,
So if
right.
somebody
Okay.
was like interested in internet marketing, they could go to a conference, learn about internet marketing, but then actually be able to sit down with people one on one. That's
Oh,
what
right.
made our thing different, because a lot of times I've been to so many conferences and you get a lot of information very rapidly, but then you don't quite know what to do with it. Or you have very specific questions. And if you could just sit down with somebody and kind of ask these questions, like imagine like yourself, obviously you're an expert in funnels and marketing. So like imagine if I could sit down with you for an hour and really say, hey, this is where I'm struggling. My funnel's not working here. Or my ads, I'm getting a lot of leads for my ads, but then they're not signing up for my webinar. So like you automatically could say, well, it's probably the copy on your landing page. There's a disconnect from your ad. They're responding to your ad, but then they're not responding. So the same exact concept, but for people who are interested in TV and film. Hey, I have these headshots. I've done these types of projects, but I'm with this agent and my career is not moving as fast as I would like. And I'm just kind of stuck and I just don't know what to do. It's like, imagine if like you decided you wanted to move to LA tomorrow to become an actor. Great. You can buy yourself a plane ticket. You can land in LA. You can get yourself an apartment. You can rent a car. But then what do you do next? Do you
Yeah.
just start knocking on doors? Like people are gonna be like, who are you? So we're the ones who kind of bridge that gap, because most people who are successful in the industry, it comes from developing relationships over years.
Right.
Like you
Okay.
have to plant the seeds now of the harvest that you may do anywhere from a year to 20 years from now. So for a lot of people when they're brand new to this industry, it's hard to know who to trust, who to talk to. So we take all of that out of the equation, and we're the ones who vetted the people. So the people that we work with, these are people who are actually producing shows for Netflix and Apple TV. Our talent have appeared on the pages of almost every magazine imaginable. They've been on TV shows and films. They've worked on Broadway. So we've developed the relationships ourselves. and we test ourselves. Like, so we don't ask anyone to do something we're not willing to do.
Yeah.
Like, we've invested in multiple films. We currently have a new movie coming out. It's going to be on Netflix later this year called Target. We've invested in, worked on Broadway. So for our Broadway productions, we've done 5 different Broadway shows. Combined, they've won 38 awards. And then we've also won 6 Tony Awards. And in 2013, we won the Tony for Best Play. So if you really listen to my story is like, I worked in a restaurant, I made pizza for a living. Then from there, I worked in technology.
Yeah.
And even though it was involved in the entertainment industry, I was really behind the scenes. And it wasn't until we started this company where we started going out and meeting people, networking with people, and building these connections, where somebody like myself, who really has 0 training on Broadway, but yet I have 6 Tonys, including Best Play. So, and it's like the same thing, like when we won the 2 Comma Club Award, it was through the network, it was through the hard work, it was through following examples of what we've seen other people do.
Yeah. So when you started VIP Ignite, how did you get it started? So you created an event, but how did you get?
All right, so that's a great story too. So when I worked for the other company, and we, obviously my partners, again, they were in technology. We didn't really have direct connections. We were a franchise. They had all the connections. We just set up the software. So this one's a little bit of, I'd say, serendipity. So there's a little bit of a serendipity story. So when I came up with the idea for doing the events, that was my first thing, was like, okay, well, I need speakers, right? But I don't really know anybody. So I was like, all right, well, I'll run an ad on Craigslist. And I can remember the ad to this day. And it was like, I'm hosting an event for people interested in TV, film, and modeling. You need to be an expert in one of those areas. You'll be compensated for your time, and we will also be serving lunch. So I was like, okay, well, yeah, I figured they'll be compensated for their time, plus we'll give them lunch, right? Everybody likes free food. And I said, let me run the ad and see what happens. So this is prior to me building the site or taking on any customers. I wanted to see what kind of response I could get for speakers. I had to test the market. So literally my email starts blowing up. I'm getting people from TV, from people from film. I'm getting all these different actors, writers. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. This is incredible. Well, it turns out that the day I put my ad up was the very day after the writer's strike had taken place in New York City.
Right.
So all these people in the entertainment industry were out of work.
Right.
So now they were looking. So I didn't know this at the time. So I just was like, wow, this was great. But here's the interesting thing, though, about connections and about building relationships. That one ad produced 30 people for our first event. That, since this is now 16 years has gone by, right?
Right.
We've never ever ran another ad anywhere. Those 30 people have now taken the company from an idea to well over $15 million in sales over 16 years, and over 450 different people in the industry that we work with, all because of the relationship. So one person introducing us to somebody else, introducing us to somebody else. So we kind of follow that pattern to this day. So it's like, so there's a little bit of serendipity there, but it's also partly of really treating people very well, like really being on point with not only our customers, but with the people who are serving our customers, making sure they feel special, making sure that we acknowledge them. Because a lot of the people that we hire that come to our events, they're people who work behind the scenes. So they're really people that you would never know. Like I tell people all the time, if you want to be an actor, who do you think would be more important to you, like Tom Cruise or Tom Cruise's manager? And a lot of times, well, Tom Cruise. I'm like, well, no, not really. That's your competition. You really want to know his manager because that's the person who's guiding and directing his career. It's like when I got into software, I don't really want to know who the CEO is. I want to know who is their software programmer. I want to know who their developer is, because that's the person that, I want to talk to, especially if I want to design my own program or, it's just finding like the best person, what I mean? It's like, you want to know Facebook ads? Great. Who's running Tony Robbins' Facebook advertising? Who's running Russell Brunson's? How do you get a conversation with them? How do you figure out, how do you get into the room with somebody like that? And maybe it's showing up at a conference, maybe it's showing up at a charity event. but kind of, and then not only finding where they are and getting in front of them, but how do you introduce yourself and not sound like you're desperate for help, that you really have something to connect with them and you bring something to the table to offer them first before asking them for something.
Yeah. So
So,
you've got all these experts ready to go. How did you get the people, the models, the wannabe models, actors, and all of that? How did you get them?
At the very beginning, before we learned Facebook ads and Instagram ads and all that fun stuff, we did it the old-fashioned way. We would go to malls, we would run some ads online, a lot of referrals, a lot of list trading, reaching out to companies, building like a Dream 100 of companies who were offering products to our avatar, but weren't in direct competition with us.
Right. Okay.
So reaching out to photographers. So a lot of photographers work with upcoming models. These models are getting photos done. They're spending money, but they don't have an agent yet. And the photographers may not be able to introduce them to an agent that would work for them.
Right.
So we kind of started off that way, very old school, picking up the phone, figuring out, what companies we could call, offering them to come out and be speakers, offering them, partnerships with us,
Right.
to advertise their products and so forth.
So then, did you charge those people to attend the event?
The people like the photographers and stuff.
No, the models.
Oh, the models, yeah, they covered their own expenses to be in an event, just like any other event that they would attend. So for them, we didn't charge commissions or anything like that. What we did is what we found out very rapidly was, for a lot of people who were interested in this business, a lot of them were new or they had been doing it for a while, but they gotten stuck and they weren't really good at, like, they're telling their story, telling their why. They weren't really good at like introducing themselves. They were really good at, like, do you want to be a model? Yeah, I want to be a model. They'd raise their hand, they'd be excited, but they didn't understand the mindset of a casting director, what he was looking for.
Right.
So what we started really doing is, like, we started realizing as we were doing these that our best foot, because it's like honestly, like, you have a great look, right? You're like a commercial print model. You could do magazines, you could do billboards, you could do catalogs. You have that cool haircut going on. You could do a lot of different looks. You could play a mom, a lawyer. You could play a college, professor. Like, there's so many things that you could play. It's considered versatility, and you have all this potential. But if I put you in front of an agent, how would you sell that potential to them? Like,
Right.
what would be like? What would, like, you're like, but Mike, I have no experience, right? Well, yeah, actually, you do. You're Powell. You're online. You got a podcast. You have all these things going on. You created this personality. How do you transition that to the entertainment business? So that's what we really started focusing on, was helping people improve themselves, because what came natural to us didn't come natural to everybody else.
Right.
So there were problems there, again, that people didn't realize they had. And until you really spoke to a person, I couldn't really just assume, well, you're just not meeting the right agencies, or you're just not getting yourself out there, you're not getting enough exposure, because they weren't closing the deal. So we had to teach them how to close the deal, how to make a great impression. We had to teach people how to follow up. Like, most of the people didn't know how to follow up. Like, think about, like, a casting director, you're meeting thousands of people. How do you remember that one person?
Yeah.
How do you stand out? Like, your follow-up, like, I got so many reminders to make sure I did not miss this call. Like, you were on your A game, from text messages to emails. Like, that's why you're successful, because you created a system. But when somebody's just not in this business, they don't have the technology, they don't have the access to do all that. So how do you do it? Something as simple as a nice follow-up email, sending them a little gift, an appreciation, following them on social media, sharing their stuff, things that are pertinent, that make sense to share. I tell them all the time, don't share just to share, or don't click like just to click like. You have to really engage with them. Learn who the person is. When I first had the opportunity, one of our first shows that we did on Broadway, one of the stars of the show was Sigourney Weaver. And so many people, they know Sigourney Weaver from the Aliens movie, right? She played the lead in the Aliens movie. Well, that movie was like 30, 40 years ago. Like, that was just a one part of her life. So before I had the opportunity to meet with her, I did some research with her, and her husband, they have this charity foundation where they help kids who are struggling financially, like that are, that may not have the means to go to Broadway shows. They give them the opportunity to attend Broadway shows.
All right. Okay.
So that's something that means a lot to her. That's like something that's from her heart.
Yeah.
So when I got to meet Sigourney Weaver for the first time, everybody else was asking for an autograph or a photo. They were talking to her about, they love this movie or that movie, and she was very nice and thank you and kind and so forth. But when I finally got a chance to talk to her, I said, hey, Miss Weaver, I just want to let you know something. That foundation you have for helping children attend Broadway shows, that is absolutely amazing. And that really means something to me, because when I was growing up, my mom was a single mom. I was never able to see a Broadway show. I never had that opportunity because it was just outside of my mom's reach. And how wonderful it is for you to be able to bring such beauty, such grace, gratitude, and blessings into people's lives that may never have the chance to experience this.
Yeah.
And she just literally lit up. She smiled. And next thing I know, me and her were walking through the venue, and we spent like the next hour and a half speaking with each other. And it was all because I took the time enough to find out and care about what meant something to her. So like, that's kind of like our program, what we teach people. It's just not about acting and modeling. That's easy. I mean, I can teach you how to walk a runway in an hour. I can teach you how to pose in 30 minutes. But how do you create relationships and connections that are going to last you a lifetime?
So what is it that is it a course, or is it a coaching program? What is it that you
we do coaching. We do online coaching. So we kind of when the whole world turned upside down a couple of years ago, and everybody was in lockdown, we already had an online coaching program at the time, but we ramped it up, and and boy, talk about giving back. We literally, the whole TV and film industry shut down, fashion industry shut down, Broadway shut down. So we literally had coaching running 5 days a week, like 3 to 4 hours a day. We had our speakers all filling in slots throughout the day.
Oh,
everybody
wow.
was home.
Yeah.
And we didn't charge anything extra for this. Like we literally were doing, we literally had Ben Crawford, who at the time, he still is currently today, back to work. He's currently the Phantom of the Opera on Broadway.
All right.
So imagine being able to jump on a Zoom call Monday through Friday in the middle of the afternoon and literally have Ben Crawford, the Phantom of the Opera, hand selected by Andrew Lloyd Webber himself, training you and teaching you about how to become a Broadway star.
That would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So we had some amazing speakers, and we didn't ask for a single penny from any of the people in our program. We said, you know what, we know you're home. We know, rather than sitting there waiting, for the worst to happen at that time, people didn't understand what was really going on. We said, come learn. And what we did was we even went as far as to incentivize people. We said, just show up and learn. There's no extra cost. These are the people you're going to meet. And for every person that shows up for a class online, we're going to donate one lunch to first responders in New York City.
All right. Okay.
So literally every day we were donating like 200 lunches to different hospitals. And
fantastic.
It was really cool. It was, it was about understanding to have the gratitude for not being concerned what I didn't have, but what did I have at that moment that I could use to make the world better. And it's really having that strong sense of identity every day. A lot of times, I talk to so many people and they're always worried what they don't have. Like I don't have the 2 Comma Club award yet, or I don't have the 10X award, or I see all these people doing all these things. I'm like, no, hold on. What do you have?
Yeah.
And utilize that, right? It's like your podcast. This is something you have, right? You could reach out to Polly and say, hey, listen, I'm struggling with my funnel and I need help with it. Or I'm stuck at this point. Who can I reach out to? Because you know what? All the answers are there when you shift your focus from what you don't have to what you do have and leverage that. And then all of a sudden your life will change in ways you can't even possibly imagine.
So when did you first discover ClickFunnels?
So when we were doing our own these events at the time when we first started the event company, we used to have to do everything. Remember, I said manually, like we're calling people, we're building these lists, like the ClickFunnels didn't even exist at this
Yeah.
time early on. So ClickFunnels started I think they started like about 7 years ago, and probably about 6 years ago, we had a call center, and we probably had about, I don't know, 55 people working in our call center. And if you never ran a call center, it's a lot of work. Like
I used to work in a call center many, many moons ago.
yeah. And there's always something happening. Somebody doesn't make it to work. There's some disaster. Somebody's sleeping in their car. It's just, it's a lot of fun, but there's running it. It's a lot of work. And I had a call center manager, and I remember the numbers were off one day. And I called her in my office. I was like, listen, what seems to be the problem? Like, why are the numbers not where they're at? Like, you have enough people to call, it's a numbers game. There's a percentage. And she's like, well, I don't really know. And I was like, well, I made a comment, something like, well, do we need to get another manager? Right. And she looked at me and she goes, well, to be honest with you, she goes, the way I look at things, you need us a lot more than we need you. And I was like, ooh, I was like, this is a challenge. I was like, she's challenging me. So I was like, okay. I was like, oh, I was like, okay. I was like, you're right. You're right, Tiger. You go get him. So as soon as she walked out of my office, I jump on the internet and I start Googling, how do I get rid of a call center? And I don't know what thing I clicked on, but all of a sudden Russell Brunson popped up and he was talking about this perfect webinar. And I was like, ooh, this sounds interesting. And I was like, wow, maybe I could use this to reach out to people via emails. They could watch a video and then they could reach out to us. So kind of like, instead of us reaching out to people and following up, we create a system.
Right.
So, I wind up signing up for ClickFunnels. At the time, my son was working with me. I have to give you another little interesting story about ClickFunnels, how powerful it is. Wind up signing up for the software, went through the training. Within probably about 2 months, me and my son by ourselves were generating more leads per day, working about an hour to 2 hours a day. We were generating probably 3x the amount of leads a 55-person call center was generating.
Right. Okay. And did you start running ads to it?
We started running ads to it. We had a list at the time. We started a list, so we started running off the list and generating people to go to the funnel and sign up that way. Then we started doing ads. At this point now, Facebook was around, and we were running a lot of Google ads at the time because Google was still popular for running ad campaigns through Google. But we wind up blowing the numbers through the roof, and we wind up, like, within probably 90 days, we dissolved the call center. Like, we wind up saving probably close to $250,000 in expenses on a call center and generating 3x the amount of leads. And then my son, he wind up really digging into the trainings and all that. And one day my son comes to me, he's like, Dad, I know I've been working here for a long time, but I've been listening to Russell Brunson, and I'm going to go out and I want to start my own company. And he wind up going out and starting his own company. He does lead generation for attorneys and for doctors and lawyers. And you probably might have seen some of his ads running on TV. He's really, really successful at it. And he provides a great service for people who need to get their message out, to prospective people who need help.
Right.
So,
okay. So who built your first webinar? Was it you or your son?
We did it together. What we did was we literally followed Russell's instructions, and we literally we created like slide by slide. And when I first saw the perfect webinar, I couldn't quite understand it. I was like, I don't know, there's something about this guy's getting me so excited. I just want to keep buying it over and over again. And then when I finally understood the framework that was involved in how you present your story, how you create the aha moment, and that wall, and then you overcome it, and you share your 3 secrets and so forth. So we kind of built it on our own, following Russell's framework without understanding it,
Right.
to tremendous results. And now, of course, many years later, and we're a part of Russell's inner circle. And we just came back from Mexico, spent a few days in Mexico. I'll be in Boise, Idaho in a few weeks with Russell in the inner circle. Now we've really mastered it to such a level, and it's such a great place to be, because now we can share that information with others. And now I really have a deep understanding. I can like literally look at a funnel and understand where the holdup is, why it's doing well, why it's not, looking at the KPIs, the numbers, and really understanding it. So if anybody who's listening, if you're brand new to this and you're like, oh my God, this sounds like so much, trust the process, follow what Polly says, follow what Russell says, because it works, and you will be able to do it. It's like it's like learning how to ride a bike. Just like literally it all clicks together one day. And then when it does, it's just amazing. It's not giving up. It's like losing weight. It's like anything in life, it's worth putting in the effort, because it's just a matter of you focusing on it. And there's a story you tell yourself. If you tell yourself this is too hard, of course it's going to be hard, because your mind's going to say it's too hard.
Yeah.
But if you say to yourself, you know what? This is not hard. This is a challenge. And I love challenges. And I'm going to do this. I will make this happen. So
have you always done webinars then?
We've always done webinars, and we do them live 3 times a week.
You still do them live now?
We still do them live. Yeah. We're in the process of automating some of them right now, like 5 years later, but we still do them 3 times a week live.
So now, how is it? Do you still run Facebook ads to get people to come to your webinars?
We run Facebook ads and we run Instagram. We love Instagram a lot for our target market, because we're able to. We like a little bit of. We don't deal with kids per se. We like a little bit. We deal with people a little bit more mature, so they've reached it. Like people over 35 is our avatar, because we were able to place them a lot easier, because it's a smaller segment. Because like I think about, if you walk into a high school and you say, who wants to be a model? Everybody raises their hand. But when somebody's older, the advertisers right now, the market is in high demand for people over 35, like doctor ads, lawyer ads, but the pool of people to pull from is smaller. So our target market are people who they may have reached a certain point in life, their kids are kind of grown up, or this is something they wanted to do when they were younger and they just never did. Now they're older, they're more stable in life. So we really do well with people within that age range. And we get them placed. Our number 1 success story started with us probably about a year and a half ago. She just broke 7 figures. She was in a Super Bowl ad just a few weeks ago.
Oh, awesome.
She literally works almost every single day. She's 51 years old. Her name's Medea. She has like long gray hair. I can almost guarantee you, if you paged through a magazine, drove past a billboard, been on the internet in the past 90 days, you've probably seen her ad 2 or 3 times. There's literally, every single time I turn on TV, literally like almost at least once a day, I see a commercial with her in it. And she came to an event. She just wanted to learn more about it. She came to one of our online webinars, and she signed up for our coaching. And then we did a virtual event. She met her agent through our virtual event. She's followed the system perfectly.
Yeah.
And she literally made $1 million plus doing this.
Amazing. So when somebody comes to your webinar, after the webinar, do you book calls with people, or do you send people straight to sales pages?
We book calls with people. And the reason why is, for one, I'm going to help somebody. I believe I want to know, can I really help the person? Can I get them the results that they want? So we do the calls with them to kind of separate people. Is this something you can do versus something you can't do? And, it's something as simple as like, you live in Montana, right? And Montana is a very small market. There's work out there, industrial videos and local advertisers. But if the opportunity came where we introduce you to somebody, say in LA or New York, are you willing to make that big of a life change? Because you got to realize, we're not only trying to get results for our clients, for the talent, but we're also trying to get results for the people who come to our events, like the speakers.
Yeah.
They don't want to just come and talk. They want to find people who are like, hey, I saw this, like Medea. She was in Vegas. She works back and forth between LA and Vegas. little bit, closer ride. But there were other people that we interviewed same time from Vegas. They're like, well, I don't really go into LA. I don't drive. It's going to be too much of a hassle. Could they come to me? And we're like, well, no. So we do the phone interviews, because that way we feel we can really kind of qualify the right people, because we don't want to because when we first started, we were like, I had a belief like I could help everybody. I was just like, you know what? Even if they're struggling, even if they're in a bad place in life, I felt it was my moral obligation to help them. And then I think Russell one time told a story, and it was about a person who got a job. They were working for the Coast Guard, flying a helicopter. It was their first day on flying a helicopter. And sure enough, it's their first day, and there's this boat that capsizes, and there's all these people in the water. And the helicopter pilot goes out and he looks, and he sees all these people struggling in the water. And then he turns and he counts how many seats he has in the helicopter. And he realizes there are more people in the water than there are seats in the helicopter. And he says, oh my God, what am I going to do here? I can't save everybody. So his captain says, well, listen, when you bring the helicopter closer to the water, there are going to be people who swim towards you. Those are the ones you save. The ones that are struggling and swimming away, you can't help those people. Even though in your heart you want to, you just can't. So when Russell told that story, it really kind of was a breakthrough moment where I realized, you know what, he's right. You can't help everybody. You can only help the people that are swimming towards you.
Right, okay.
And when you focus on those people, those are the ones that you make the biggest impact, not only on their life, but the lives of the people that they impact too.
Yeah.
So, and it's just, and once you accept that, everything in life changes, everything comes to an end, and you understand these are just how life works. That's when you can do the greatest good. But if you just try to save everybody, you're not going to be able to save anyone, and you're not going to live your best life. And if you're not living your best life, then you're also, the people you're surrounding yourself with, you're not helping them either. So this, making small realizations like that.
I agree. Yeah. So has there ever been a time where you felt like giving up?
A lot. Yeah, a lot. But I realized that I'm in control of my mind. My mind doesn't control me. So when I'm really feeling down, it's, first of all, you have to shift your state. You know what I mean? So if I'm just, if I'm going to sit here and I'm all like, I don't know, life is so terrible, I got to catch myself. I got to put my shoulders up. I got to put my chin out. I got to put some energy into my step. And I got to realize, like, there's nothing so terrible that I couldn't find a why to fix it. Even though maybe in the moment, right? When I got that phone call, my whole company was shut down. It was literally $100 million a year business gone.
Yeah.
In 1 second, I could have said to myself, oh my God, my life is over. What am I going to do? I got to start. No, I just said, you know what? I'm going to push through. So it's, you have to have, there's no, people always look for a motivator, right? This is a good lesson that I learned early on. And it's like, who motivates the motivator? You have to motivate yourself. You have to say to yourself, what is my driving force? What is the reason? What is the reason no matter what happens today? Right? Every day, I'm going to be honest with you, every day I expect 20 problems. I expect 18 little problems, and I expect 2 big problems. Because that way, when they walk through my door, I go, there you go, you son of a gun. I've been expecting you. I'm excited. Let's do this. Let's rock this, right? Versus hiding from them. And again, if you don't know how to do something, you find the who, right? You reach out to somebody who can help you. So there's always a way. So yes, have there been times I wanted to quit? Absolutely. There have been times I've been so overwhelmed, so frustrated. I just wanted to hide. And you know what I found? I found taking a step back for like 24, 48 hours, just going in your car, jump on your phone, go, just rent a hotel. Like I'll go by the beach and I'll literally get a room by the water, and I'll walk across, walk along the water. I'll go into New York City, and I'll just walk in the city. I'll go get my hair cut. Just change your environment, change what you're focusing on, and you start feeling better. Because at the end of the day, it's like an imbalance of chemicals. It's a part of life, but it's just learning to control it. That you're in charge, not your mind. No. If I'm tired, I know I can get more energy to get up and get out there and make it happen. I can find the energy. I can find the strength. It's always there. It's the story you tell yourself is how you're going to live your life.
Yeah,
Change your
that
story,
is,
change your life.
yes.
Quote 20 Robbins, right?
Yeah, totally. So what do you class as your biggest achievement in your entrepreneurial journey so far?
I think biggest achievement so far, definitely winning the Tony Awards was phenomenal. I remember when we were there, we went to the Tonys live, and I remember sitting in the audience. And if you've never been to the Tonys, they have these big lights. It's so hot in there. I'm wearing like this tuxedo. I'm so uncomfortable. Like and our show was up against a show called A Lucky Guy, and it was starring Tom Hanks.
All right.
So not only like, okay, and not only that, but a wonderful writer, but the writer of A Lucky Guy had just passed away. She had just recently passed away.
Oh dear.
So now I'm sitting in the Tonys, I'm burning up, it's so hot, I'm under these lights, I'm like playing with my bow tie, and I'm just like, oh man. And I'm like, we're up against Tom Hanks. The writer just passed away. Like, he's going to win. There's no way we could win. This is like, crazy. And literally, when it comes time for them to announce, the best play, I'm like, I just wanted to leave. I didn't want to be there because I felt like we were going to lose. And I just was like, let's go to ESPN. We'll go to ESPN bar. We'll watch some sports. We'll have some beers. I was with my partner, and she was like, no, we're going to wait this out. And I literally, when they make the announcement, I closed my eyes, and I didn't even hear them announce our show. I just heard everybody cheering, and I opened up my eyes, and I saw our logo up on stage.
Oh,
and
wow.
We had won. And later that evening, like when you win a Tony, there's like, you're at Radio City Music Hall, and then everyone does these after parties. So we were in the lobby, and I was with one of the producers. Her name's Pat Addis, and I had never met Tom Hanks before or anything like that. And so I was standing there, and Tom Hanks came over to her, and he thanked her, congratulated her. And then he turned to me, and he wound up congratulating me. And I'm literally standing there, I'm shaking Tom Hanks's hand.
Yeah.
And this is somebody, like, ever since I was like a little kid, I've known all his movies. Like it's Tom Hanks. Like, Tom Hanks is shaking my hand, congratulating me on beating him. Like, I'm like, this is such a I was excited, but then you felt bad. You like you just couldn't believe is this a dream?
Yeah.
So, and so that was like a moment that I cherish every single day. And then probably my other one is literally every time we have a Trello board, and our VA every morning will go through all the social media posts, and they'll find all these posts where people like show gratitude for us helping them. We just recently had this event where we had a Emmy Award-winning actress, and she spent 2 days. She was a graduate of Harvard, and we did what was called the Ivy League Fast Track Acting Weekend, and it was her teaching them everything she learned at Harvard about acting. And it was it was compressing like 4 years of her life into 2 days. Okay. Really beneficial. Yeah, ton of content. But what I love is every morning, how I start my morning off is I'll go through this Trello board and I'll read these stories. So I'll read, and it reminds myself that no matter how I feel, like, this is one of the reasons why we do this. Like, we're planning an event in July in Vegas, and we were going to do like a little do some headshot photos for everybody. And I says, what could I do? And I'm actually part Ukrainian. I'm Italian and Russian, Ukrainian. So I was like, how can I help people? What's going on over there in Ukraine? And I was like, oh, why don't we offer some type of headshot package, and everyone who buys it will donate 100% to some type of cause to help, with the war.
Oh, that's
so things like that. I think like when you have a company, at the end, it comes down to seeing what results you can give people and really caring from your heart.
Yeah.
And then realizing, wait a second, I don't have to sit here and be helpless to something. I can't maybe save the world again, but if I could help one person, we're real big supporters of Operation Underground Railroad. We've helped, with that, through a lot of donations. So it's just it's really finding things that, like, what's kind of cool. It's like, being able to wake up in the morning and say, who could I help today and how can I do it? And making that a part of your day too.
That's a good feeling to have every day.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And it doesn't matter how big or small. You know what I mean? Like, I can't compare what Russell does in a day or Tony, and I shouldn't. Only person I'm competing against is myself.
Yeah.
What can I do today? And I mean, a lot of people always say, well, Tony does this or Russell does it. No, it doesn't matter. You can do that one day. They're 15 years down the road from you. They've been doing this a lot longer than you. And 15 years from now, you're going to be exactly where Tony is. But guess what? Tony's going to be 15 years down the road from you. You're never going to catch up to Tony. He's too fast, right? So you concentrate on yourself. And that's a real big mindset. Because a lot of times I get that all the time with actors. Well, but I'm comparing myself to Tom Cruise. Well, Tom Cruise has been doing this for 40 years. You've been doing this for like 2 minutes. Don't compare yourself to where Tom Cruise was at 2 minutes in his career.
Yeah.
Are you ahead of where that's what you got to do. You got to be fair to yourself. Entrepreneurs beat themselves up all the time. Yeah. Actors beat themselves up all the time. So, but when you realize, wait a second, no, Mike's right. I can't compare that's my goal, is to be where Tom Cruise is now. But how long have I been doing this as an entrepreneur or as an actor? If I've been doing this for a year, where am I in comparison to somebody else? And say, well, they were ahead of me. Okay, why? Figure it out. Was it the people they're working with? Were they investing more time? You know, Russell, when he goes into something, he goes all in. He's in it 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day, right? I tell people all the time, like, how many did you spend more hours? Here's a great question for entrepreneurs. If your business isn't where you want it to be, what I need you to do is to look at last week. Did you spend more hours on your business, or did you spend more hours watching Netflix? Did you spend more hours on your business, or did you spend more hours worrying about problems or worrying about things? Did you spend more hours sharpening pencils and shuffling paper and dreaming about it, or did you spend more hours actually working on your business? Because if I can guarantee you, no matter where you are, if you put in 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're going to win. Even if it's by brute force, you will win. And eventually it becomes easier. But at the beginning, you may be the copywriter, you're the funnel builder, you're the graphic guy, you're the idea guy. You got to do it all. But you got to have a circle of focus. Yeah.
Yeah, the beginning, everything's hard. Yeah. So I've got one final question for you.
Yes.
If you were going to be an animal for 24 hours, what would you be and why?
I would love to be a lion, because a lion is such a cool animal. They're absolutely beautiful. They're so graceful. They're powerful. But yet at the end of the day, they get to kind of lie in the sun and relax a little bit. And the lionesses, they kind of run around and do all the hard work. Everyone thinks the lions do all the hard work. In reality, the lionesses do all the hard work. And the lion gets to take all the credit. So if I could be an animal, it would probably be a lion. Just because they have that spirituality of that leadership, and they're strong and powerful, but then they also kind of get they have the systems in place that their business is running without them. They're an owner and not an operator.
Yes, totally. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day today to chat with me. If anybody is interested in finding out more about VIP Ignite, where can they go?
They can just go to VIPignitelive.com. So V as in Victor, IP, ignitelive.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was so great being here talking with you today.
Thank you for listening. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please take a moment to leave us a 5-star review and subscribe to the podcast on your podcast software. It really helps us rank the podcast and get more listeners. And if you're over on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the bell. Every Friday, 8 a.m. GMT, we release a brand new episode. And until then, have a good one.